Hey there guys, what's up? It is Auto-About-Mike18 here with a bit of a TV discussion or TV review video. Guys, I did not think I was going to be making this video, honestly I didn't, but with the way things turned out in last night's finale, a video needed to be made, so that's why I'm doing this. So guys, as you can tell by the title of the video, in this video I am going to be discussing my thoughts and reviewing the finale in general of Survivor Cagayan, or Survivor Season 28. That's right guys, the finale of Survivor Cagayan aired last night from 8 to 11, including the reunion show. Already I was peeved that they aired it middle of the week, and I wanted them to air on a Sunday, but I'm over it now. It's over. It's done with. What am I going to do? But they aired the finale last week, guys, and I couldn't wait for it to air. In my last video, which was a predictions video, I predicted who I thought would win, who would make it to the final 3, 2, blah, blah, blah. I said I didn't think I was going to make this video. I thought, you know, there's no need to make a review of the finale or the season in general. But then I said, you know what, after that, I watched that finale last night, I'm like, I have to make a video. There's too many interesting things I have to talk about that unfolded on last night's finale, and that's why I decided to make a video. So without further ado, guys, I want to get right into it. First off, yes, I am in a different surrounding. I usually have all my posters behind me. I'm in a different part of my house. Don't worry about it. I filmed in this location before. This is just for this video. I just felt like doing something different. But anyway, getting into the finale, I have so many things to discuss. I'm not just going to discuss last night's finale and that's it. I'm going to discuss, of course I will discuss the finale, but I also want to discuss the season in general and my thoughts on what they're going to do for next season, because they already revealed it last night during the reunion show. And in the finale, when I discuss the finale, I'm going to bring up the union challenges, the final tribal council, everything that happened last night. I'm going to bring it up now. So I hope you guys enjoy this review, and as always, spoilers, spoiler heavy. Okay, I don't know why you'd be watching this. First off, if you've never seen Survivor, I guess you can watch the video. This won't really affect you if you want to, but if you have been watching the season and you didn't get a chance to watch the finale yet, I'm going to spoil the winner, I'm going to spoil everything, so do not watch this video if you haven't seen the finale yet, if you wanted to. But I think it's on demand, and you can watch it online probably. But anyway, getting into what I want to bring up, first off, right off the bat, in case you guys didn't know this, I have been a very big fan of Survivor since I was like 8, 10, maybe even younger, maybe 7. I've been watching the show for a very long time. Aired in 1999. I was like 3, 4 years old then, and you know, I obviously didn't watch it then, but you know, my parents have been watching it. They got me hooked into the show, and I've been watching it from season 10 on. So I've been watching 18 seasons of the show, and I think it's just a really fun, entertaining show. Yes, there are episodes that are boring. Yes, there are seasons that are boring. There are players that are boring, players that don't want to be on the show, but they're there anyway. But I still think that Survivor has given us several very entertaining seasons, in my opinion, and several very intense, entertaining episodes. So real quick, before I discuss any of the immunity challenges or anything, I want to throw a very quick congratulations to the winner. I'm just going to go out and say it right now. The winner of Survivor Cagayan was Tony. And while I sort of predicted that Tony would in some way make it to the final 2 and that he would most likely end up winning the game in my last video, I wasn't certain, because with that final 4, I didn't know what was going to happen. I think many of you were uncertain too, you know. There were so many different things, so many different outcomes that could have come from the final 4, being Tony, Wu, Kass, and Spencer. But in the end, I was very, very pleased with Tony. Now, don't get me wrong. I know Tony has garnered a lot of opposition. A lot of people dislike him for the moves he's made, for the people he's stabbed in the back, for the, you know, the promises he's broken. And don't get me wrong. While I feel he may have taken that a little too far, I still think he played arguably the best game out of the 4, apart from Spencer's game. In my opinion, him and Spencer were the most deserving of the $1 million out of that final 4. Kass deserved it as well. I personally did not like her though, and I thought Wu, it would have been nice to see Wu have won. I feel honestly, looking back, that out of Tony or Wu, Tony deserved it hands down. without a doubt. Don't get me wrong, Wu was a very fun and entertaining player, in my opinion. He brought a very entertaining presence to the show. He was very athletic. He did a lot of cool things on the show, but I just feel that Tony played the better game. Tony did the bigger moves, in my opinion. And with all the risks he took and all of that, Tony finding all those idols, which ended up saving his butt in the end, I think that Tony definitely played the better game over Wu, and I'll discuss Wu's decision to take Tony to the end over Kass and all that as I go along. But anyway, I guess I'll start off with the 2 immunity challenges, and I'll get into the final tribal council and a few other things that happened on the finale last night. And then I'll go from there. I'll get more into the winner and why I feel Tony deserved to win, and so on. Then I'll go into the season in general, and then I'll give you my thoughts on next season. But anyway, the first immunity challenge, which, it was where they all stood on the poles, and they had to throw the bucket down in the water. It was the 4 of them. It was Tony, Spencer, Wu, and Kass. They all had to stand on the poles, get the water in their buckets and pour it down the chute to raise the key. And when they get the key, they jump down, go back to the beach and solve that puzzle. That challenge was tense as hell. It was, for the most part, it looked like it was between Tony and Spencer. Even looked like Wu was getting close at one point, and then Kass made that major comeback, and I was like, that is how you do it on day whatever, 36, 37, or whatever day it was of Survivor, when you know it, you are in danger of going home, because honestly at that point all 4 of them were in danger of going home. Spencer was obviously the biggest threat and the biggest, he was in danger the most, but all of them were, especially even Tony, because, and this is something I didn't know, that idol could not be used when there were only 4 left. It had to be used when there were 5. The special idol, which I want to get into as well towards the end of the video, my thoughts on the special idol. But I didn't know that, and I was like, holy crap, Tony's actually vulnerable. I thought he could use it during the final 4, but he couldn't, so he was vulnerable too. So they all equally needed that immunity, and Kass ended up winning it. That was a very good comeback. I have to applaud her for that. I have to go from that far, while the 3 guys, one of them being the brains, which was Spencer, I was shocked he couldn't figure that out. Kass ended up winning that, and that was great. I have to admit, even though I personally didn't like Kass, I don't like her personality. I think she played a good game. I think that move she made was big, because 9 times out of 10, when you swap your alliance, you go to the other alliance because you're being mistreated or whatever. That's basically why she swapped, in my opinion, over to Tony and all of them. Usually you're on the bottom because you're on a new alliance. You helped give that alliance numbers to knock the other alliance off, but you're on the bottom of that new alliance. So that is why I thought Kass was going to get voted out easily, but she ended up making it to the final 3 in the end, so I was shocked. So I have to give her that. And she did do a lot of important moves in this game. I have to give her that. So that was a nice comeback, though. So anyway, as a result of that, and they brought the family members in the final 4. I thought that was a nice touch to the finale as well. They hadn't done family members all season. They did the auction, but they didn't do family members. I thought that was odd, but they did do family members for Tony, Spencer, Wu, and Kass. And in the end, Spencer tried. I can't wait to discuss what Spencer did in the final tribal council, but his efforts to get Kass, to get Tony to take him to the end by saying, oh, listen, man, I know there's going to be a final 2. You have better chances of taking me and trying to win, because they could vote you out in the next tribal in the final 3. And although I knew that Spencer was trying to put a good effort in to stay in the game and save his own ass, I knew it wasn't going to work. I highly doubt it. I mean, Spencer, if you bring Spencer to the end of the game, I said this in my predictions video, Spencer would have won. And I think, while I personally wanted to see Spencer stay because of all the comebacks he made, staying on the bottom of the alliance. He was in the shittiest tribe of all when the game first started, on that Brains tribe. I felt bad for the guy after a while, and he really stepped up, in my opinion. I wanted to see him succeed, and it was such a shame he got voted out so close. But you know what? In the end, he was on the outside of the alliance, and it wasn't only that. It wasn't only the fact that he wasn't with Tony's alliance, but also the fact that he would have easily, single-handedly taken this game. Every member on the jury would have voted for him, I think, if he had gone to the end. I think they would have. I honestly do. I don't see anyone having any sore feelings against him. He would have easily won. And it kind of reminds me of what happened with Ozzy back in South Pacific. He made it so close. He got voted out, final 4, and the whole jury would have voted for Ozzy, and who ended up winning that season. Sophie ended up winning that season. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about that. But it was sad to see Spencer go. I personally wanted him to win as well. I wanted him or Tony. I felt both were equally deserving. I was really torn last night before Spencer got voted out. I was like, Tony or Spencer, I don't know who to pick. I think both are really equally deserving. But when Spencer got voted out, I felt bad for the guy. I really wanted to see him make it to the final two, just to see him and Tony at the end, because they were the two most deserving players. But he got voted out. So then moving on, Tony, Wu, and Kass in the final three. And that final immunity challenge, I love how they always do mazes in the end. They've done it in Heroes versus Villains, which was a very memorable challenge. Remember when Russell won that final immunity challenge and that awesome maze? They've done several mazes that season when Boston Rob was on Redemption Island. They did a very nice maze, kind of arena thing. And I love when Survivor does that. I love how that's the final challenge. It's always so exciting, and they ended off with a puzzle. And that was another very intense immunity challenge, in my opinion. In that, it looked like it was going to be very close. It did come very close in the end. Kass was again this close from staying in the game and winning that challenge. But in the end, Wu took the win, and I was shocked. I personally was rooting for Tony at that point because I wanted Tony of the three. But not only that, but they were also, Kass and Wu were planning on voting Tony out, and the two of them going to the finals. I was like, Tony needs this win. He's not that good at puzzles, it turns out. He did good in maze for the most part, but he wasn't that good at puzzles. But I really... I was surprised that Wu won. I was glad that Wu won. I think that was the only immunity challenge Wu won, if I remember correctly. And it was nice to see Wu win that, but I was like, oh no, he's taking Kass. And then it was cool to see, however, that we all assumed that he was going to take Kass and that he was going to take behind Tony, because that was the smart move to make. At that point, when Wu won that challenge, he sealed his fate, because he ended up deciding to take Tony in the end, and I think, as the jury agreed, that was his $1 million mistake, because we all knew he would have won had he taken Kass. Even the jury agreed who votes for the winner, and he made $1 million mistake. Now, I understand the reason why he decided to take Tony. He gave his reasons as to the fact that it was a decision out of honor, in that he took Tony over Kass. He had been loyal to Tony for majority of the game, and he took Tony to the end. And he gave the excuse, well, not the excuse, but he said, listen, I thought I had better chances of beating Tony. Yeah, he said something along the lines of that or something. And he ended up taking Tony. I still think that was, and we all know that was Wu's biggest mistake, for Wu to win the game, but it was the best move for anyone to make to get Tony to win the game. And I loved the point when Wu was trying to make his decision, because we all thought his mind was set on taking Kass, but he changed his mind and he decided to take Tony to the end, and that was very exciting. That last tribal council, right before Jeff held up that last vote, I told myself, listen, he's going to take Tony, he's going to take Kass, Tony's going to get voted out. He made it this close. He played the best game out of the two of them, out of the three of them all together, and he deserves to be sitting in the final two. And Jeff read the vote, and it was Kass. I screamed at my TV. I was like, yeah, I was like fist pump in the air. I was like, yes, thank you, Wu. Tony deserves to take the end. But I said to myself, you know what, Wu, that was I'm so happy you took Tony in the end, but you just made $1 million mistake. And I understand why. He gave his reasons why. I forget the other reason why he said he took Tony to the end. It wasn't that he could beat Tony. I forget. I know one of his reasons was that it was an honorable decision that he wanted to make, but I forget the other reason. Anyway, so that was an exciting immunity challenge with the maze, and Wu pulling off that come from behind win that was so close, and so yeah, that was awesome. And that final, the tribal council before the final tribal council was excellent. Now, getting into the final tribal council, the last tribal council where the jury picks the winner, that was insane. I love when the jury gets a chance to address the final two, final three, whatever. In this case, it was final two, because it's always so awesome to see what they're going to say, and you get to speculate before they get to talk. What is this person going to say? What is that person going to say? So that was cool. I always love doing that, and you get to get an idea of who each jury member is going to vote for when they make their statements and they ask their questions. So Tony and Wu enjoyed that final 2 breakfast on day 39 or whatever. Then they went to the final tribal council, and they got a chance for the jury members to address them. Now, out of all the jury members, let's see. There was Sarah. There was Morgan. I'm going to forget someone. There was LJ. I'm trying to go in order. There was Jeremiah. There was Jeffra. There was Spencer. There was Tasha. I know there was 9. There was Cass. And I'm forgetting Trish. Okay, good. I got them all 9. And in my predictions video, I thought there was 10 for some reason. That would have been an uneven vote. But then I realized, oh yeah, there's only 9. Yeah. But getting into the jury speeches, oh man, some of them were great in my opinion. I thought Trish's was arguably one of the most memorable. I know that she was hurt against what Tony had done to her and how close of a game they played, and I agree that was a tough move for Tony to make. He ended up voting her out. But yeah, that was that speech. A lot of people have been comparing it to Sue Hawk's jury speech from season 1, I believe. Now, I'd never watched season 1, but I do remember watching that video on YouTube of Sue addressing the jury when Richard Hatch won that season. I don't remember exactly what she said, but a lot of people have been comparing Trisha's jury speech and how hurt she was, and her asking Tony that very important question about the fact that he swore on his father to her, his dead father to her, and she was like, is this game, is winning the $1 million worth more than your own father or whatever, however she said it, I'm paraphrasing. And that I love how she asked him that question. It was, you could tell she was upset, but I really enjoyed how she asked him that question. And the fact that he said yes, that was the smart answer, because if he would have said no, you could have told he was lying, because you could tell he made all those promises, he broke all of those promises, he swore on so many people's lives, and you could tell that he did that just to get further in the game and just to win. But anyway, I'm trying to remember a few jury member speeches. Morgan obviously goes down. Out of all those jury members, is the stupidest speech. You know what, Morgan, she's great to look at, but no. Who else? I'm trying to think. I liked seeing when Cass addressed Wu. That was interesting because you could tell she was upset that Wu didn't take her. But I honestly didn't think she was going to vote for Tony. In the end, I think it was an 8-1. Everyone voted for Tony to win except Tasha for whatever reason. I don't know, but I was shocked that Cass ended up voting for Tony. She hated him so much. But in the end, obviously I'm saving the best jury speech for last. And I want to give him applause right now. I honestly feel that Tony should honestly give some of that $1 million to frickin' Spencer for what he did. I want to give him a round of applause right now. Spencer gets my round of applause real briefly, and I'm going to tell you guys why. With that jury speech, he summed up exactly how I was feeling. The whole entire jury, for the most part, bashed Tony up until Spencer got up last. I was so freaking happy with Spencer's speech, and I knew he was going to vote for Tony right off the bat. He mentioned it in previous episodes, but just him telling the jury and addressing the jury, he didn't even address Tony. He just stands and talks to the jury. He's like, listen, Tony made all of these moves. He backstabbed most of you. Yes, he had to hurt most of you to get where he did, but he did that because this is a game. That is what you're going to do for this game. And he said something along the lines of, you should give the vote to the person who deserves to win it the most. And that's how every jury member, in my opinion, I know that jury members get hurt when they get blindsided or when they get voted out from people in their own alliance who make it to the final 2 or 3 or whatever. I know those people are going to get hurt, but you need, in my opinion, you need to base your vote on who is the most deserving to win the $1 million. And I was so happy. I was literally shouting to my TV. I was clapping. I was applauding Spencer for making that speech. I loved the fact that Spencer did that. Okay, it showed how much a fan of this game he was, and any true fan of this game, in my opinion, will feel that the person who deserves to win the game the most is the person who played the best game in regards to all the different moves they made. And when it came down to Tony or Wu, Tony played the better game. I have nothing against Wu. He played an interesting game. He was not riding Tony's coattails. He was Tony's second man. He always backed Tony up, Wu did make that decision to knock Trish off. Wu did make a few important decisions. He considered swapping back and forth between his alliance. He didn't in the end. And Wu definitely deserved to be sitting there as well. But Tony played the better game. And Spencer making that known, I honestly think that is what swayed the jury to almost all of them to vote Tony. And I was so happy with that speech. Spencer, you could tell he's a true diehard fan of this game, and I want to see him come back. I'm saying this right here. I want to see Spencer come back. Tony, I don't think they'll bring him back right away. I liked Tony, okay? Yeah, the Spy Shack and everything, he was a little paranoid. He was a freak at some points of the show, he freaking out and everything, but I would love to see him come back, even though they're not going to ask him to come back right away. He already won. But out of everyone who was left, I would love to see Spencer come back and play this game a second time. He deserves it, honestly, for that speech. And something awesome happened on Twitter. Russell Hantz tweeted on Twitter. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter. He was like, "Oh, I wish I had Spencer on my effing jury." What the F? It was so funny, and I know a lot of people, and I'm going to get into this, comparing Tony to Russell. There's no comparison in my opinion. Russell is the evil of all evil in regards to Survivor, but I still even feel in Russell's season that he deserved to win. He made all those moves. Yes, he was vicious and very cunning in all of his decisions that he made. He stabbed so many people in the back. He did it worse than Tony did, and Tony was more paranoid than Russell, and Tony had not more of a heart, but I guess you could say he was a little bit more sympathetic than Russell, a little bit. Russell was just villainous, but Russell just pulled off so many surprise idol findings, and he just made it to that end, and I feel that is honestly, to this day, one of the most upsetting wins, in my opinion. Natalie winning over Russell, and I would have felt the same way had Wu won over Tony, and I was so glad Tony won, because he deserved to win. Yes, there were flaws in his game. I feel there definitely were. They were replaying scenes of Tony talking to everyone else on the tribe last night during the reunion show, and how many promises he made. I was looking at all of the footage, and I was like, damn, he promised a lot of people that he would take them to the end, that he swore on so many people. He swore on his father's grave, swore on his wife and kids, swore on his mother, everyone, swore on all these people, swore on his badge, since he's a cop. He made all these promises. Do I think he made too many promises? Do I think he shouldn't have sworn on certain people's graves, namely his father's? Yes, I think he did take it a little too far. That's why, in that sense, he didn't play a flawless game, because the jury was still hurt over what he did to them, and the fact that he backstabbed most of them. Now, regardless of that, I am so glad they based their decision off who deserved to win the game more, and I honestly think Spencer had most. He was the reason for that. I honestly wanted Jeff to ask at the reunion. I wanted him to ask the jury, what was your decision who was your decision to vote for up until Spencer made his speech to the jury? I wanted Jeff to ask that at the reunion, but he didn't. But that's okay. So yes, in the end, I feel Tony absolutely deserved to win the game. Okay, finding those idols. Yes, I know he didn't win any immunity challenges. He was very surprisingly, he wasn't that great in the challenges, but the fact that he saved all these idols, he found the special idol, he manipulated a lot of people, made all these promises, and made it to the game in that sense. He played a very strategic, well-thought-out game, in my opinion, even though he did make some mistakes. And mostly every Survivor player that plays the game of Survivor makes mistakes. Tony definitely did, in that he made too many promises, and too many of them were too big of a promise. Okay, the promises were too massive. Okay, in that he started swearing on people's lives. That is when you're probably taking it a little too far. You can promise that you're going to take someone to the game. I wouldn't go that far. Okay, and yes, I know a lot of you are probably going to be in the comments. Listen, yeah, what if you were on the jury and you were stabbed in the back by Tony? I was watching Survivor last night with my parents, who've been watching it from the beginning. Introduced me to it, and they told me they weren't huge fans of Tony. They felt he deserved to win without a doubt. He played the best game. They just didn't personally care for him. But they said to me, they're like, what if you were on that jury? Because I was screaming at the TV. I'm like, just vote for the person who deserves to win the game. Tony deserves to win it. My parents told me, what if you were on that jury? Would you vote for the person who deserves to win? Or would you vote for the person who doesn't deserve to win because that person who does deserve to win stabbed you in the back? And honestly, while I'll never go on Survivor, so I really can't confirm that. Yes, if I were to get stabbed in the back, I would be very hurt by it, but I honestly think that I would vote for the person who deserves to win the game. Because while Wu played a great game, I feel he didn't deserve to win. I felt Tony did. I felt that's what Tony set out to do. Granted, everyone on the season, for the most part, came out to win, especially in the last few episodes, but still, Tony deserved to win it more, and that's what I would have based my vote on. Now, would I have probably been hurt at some of the things Tony had done to everyone else? Yes, I would have definitely been hurt, but I would have tried to have based my vote on who deserved to win, just like what Spencer set out to do from the beginning. You know, Spencer was always on the bottom. He was the last one standing in his alliance, and when it came down to Tony and his alliance against Spencer and how they kept trying to vote Spencer out. Now, Spencer didn't have any hurt feelings against Tony for that. He still wanted Tony to win because he felt Tony deserved to win. And I was so glad when Jeff read out those names at the reunion that Tony won the game. And that's it. So, yeah, guys, that's basically it. I know I am almost 26 minutes in, and I still have a few other things to discuss, so I'm going to try to breeze through everything else that I have to discuss. But in the end, I was very satisfied with the winner. Like I've been saying, while I would have loved to see Spencer take the win as well, he was also very deserving in how well spoken he was and all of the strategic moves that he made in the game and how to talk certain people into voting for this person and that person, and how he saved himself when he didn't have an idol, when he didn't have the immunity necklace. He saved himself to get further into the game and get other people voted out. I honestly wanted to see him and Tony in the final too, even though I knew Spencer would have won single-handedly easily, but that didn't happen. But I have a feeling we'll see Spencer back without a doubt, especially with Jeff's public apology to Spencer. I feel that Jeff really liked Spencer's game, and I think they'll definitely try to get Spencer to come back, and I think Spencer will come back. But anyway, getting to some of the reunion and the season in general, real quick, the reunion was interesting. It was a little upsetting. My only problem with the reunion, it was better than the few of the previous reunions we had. Like the Survivor Caramon reunion sucked. They didn't even have all the players back in Caramon, which was Fans versus Favorites, I believe. Yeah. And this reunion was better. They had all the cast members there. However, my only complaint is they usually try to get all the cast members to talk, and they didn't this time. Instead, they kind of talked more to the audience instead of the cast members. It was a little upsetting. Real quick, my thoughts on the special idol and how it was created by Tyler Perry. Oh, God. I personally never cared for the special idol. I really felt that it was overpowered as hell, and it shouldn't have been used. I thought it was very unfair to anyone who got it, because you can play it right after the votes are read, so that's a little unfair in my opinion. And when I found out Tyler Perry thought of that, I was like, oh my God. I personally am not a Tyler Perry fan. He's a cool guy, but I wouldn't bother to watch one of his movies. Yeah. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, Tyler Perry. Why did you think that special idol? I hope they don't do it again. I have a feeling they will, though, in the next season. It's cool, that special idol, but way overpowered, in my opinion. I was kind of glad Tony didn't get to use it, because I still think it's overpowered. But anyway, a few other things. I liked the reunion. I loved how we got to see what the jury would have done had Wu taken Kass, and Wu would have ended up winning the game. As I knew Kass wouldn't get any votes. I knew they hated her too much. She played a great game over Wu, without a doubt. Had Wu won over Kass, I would have even been a little upset about that. Even though I personally like Wu more, Kass played the better game over Wu, in my opinion. But I just didn't care for Kass. So there's that. A few other things. I'm trying to think of other things to talk about with the reunion. I wanted to hear them talk about that Lindsay girl who quit early on in the season. Like, she didn't get anything to say. I was upset about that. I wanted to hear more about that. A few other things. Yeah, the reunion wasn't special. It was good, wasn't special. And finally, guys, the season in general, and I know I'm cutting it to a wire here, the season in general was great, in my opinion. It was competitive, it was intense, it was entertaining, it was funny. There were a lot of funny moments on this season, namely most of them involving Tony, his bag of tricks, his spy shack. Wu did a couple of funny things on the season. The beginning with the fact that the Brains tribe kept the rice dumper Jatia in the game for so long. That was kind of hysterical to me. That guy who was fire retardant, what's his name, Garrett, who was literally one of the dumbest players I've ever seen on this show, and he was on the Brains tribe. That was funny. This season had a lot of great moments, in my opinion. A lot of great blind sides, a lot of great alliance swapping, a lot of great conflict. The tension was there, in my opinion, in several episodes. The immunity challenges were great. Nothing too memorable in any of them. The auction was pretty cool. Final Tribal Council was excellent. I really liked this season. It's one of the best seasons of Survivor, hands down. I don't think I felt this good about a season since Heroes vs. Villains, honestly. Don't get me wrong, I liked Philippines, I liked Caramel was okay. I really didn't care for Blood vs. Water too much. No, I didn't like Redemption Island. Trying to think of a few others, I'm probably forgetting them. But yeah, I enjoyed this season very much, and while I am looking forward to next season, I am a little bit skeptical because they are bringing back, now here's the part where I discuss next season, they are bringing back Survivor Blood vs. Water. It's Survivor Blood vs. Water 2. I even forget the place that they're playing at, San Juan de something, I don't know. But I'm not too thrilled that they're already doing Blood vs. Water. They just did it last season, and I wasn't a huge fan of Blood vs. Water, honestly. I wasn't a huge fan of the winner. I really don't care for Tyson, but just the way the season turned out, don't get me wrong, there were some entertaining parts to it, just like with Cagayan, and there were some great conflicts and all that, but I wasn't a huge fan of Blood vs. Water, and the way, you know, they carried it out with Redemption Island, I thought it dragged on a little bit. I don't know, I loved the concept of family versus family. I just hope they improve it with Blood vs. Water 2. I still think, however, it's too soon to do Blood vs. Water 2. I think they just did it. I wouldn't have done it that quickly. It would have been nice to have done another new season with complete new players. Then I would have done like a Hero. I want a Heroes vs. Villains too. Okay, that's what I want. I would have done another Heroes vs. Villains, and then I would go with another Blood vs. Water. Okay, that's just how I feel. But anyway, yeah, guys, that's it. Wow, I need to go get some water. My throat is so dry from all this talking. I am so sorry, guys. This video went to 32 minutes. But I'm going to title this video Survivor In-Depth Analysis, or, well, in-depth review discussion of the finale. Because I did go in-depth. I did talk about a lot of different things. I gave my thoughts on a lot. On the winners, on everything. In my opinion, excellent finale. 10 out of 10. The only complaint I had was that I wanted to see Spencer make it to the end with Tony, because I thought they were the most deserving, but that has nothing to do with the show itself or the contestants. That's just the way things turned out, so I can't really hold that against the show. Other than that, this finale was exciting. It was tense in several moments. It was enjoyable. It was very I was satisfied in the end with the winner, and that's why I went 10 out of 10 with the finale. It was great, and overall the season was great. I'll probably give the season in general like a 9. I really liked this season. So that's it, guys. That's all I have to say. Leave me your thoughts down below in the comments on what you thought of Survivor Cagayan. If you stuck with me this whole video and watched it, I appreciate it very much. If you didn't, I understand, because I talk way too much, but I have a lot to say, and I know I'm swinging around in my chair and I need to stop. I need to, go do something. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And again, as always, leave me your thoughts down below in the comments on your opinion of Survivor Cagayan, your opinion of the winner. What did you think about it? Let me know down below. Let me know your opinion on Survivor in general. So thank you guys so much for watching.